I think we've officially reached the elephant in the room portion of our program. So we heard about the sub-crisis. And now we're going to talk about something near and dear to a lot of our hearts. And it's fitting that it's in this room because we've heard quite a lot of arguments back and forth about it. We're going to hear about competency-based grading and how our transcripts could potentially reflect the change we've had in grading recently. And to present that to you is Walt Freeman.
I want to apologize for the density of this presentation ahead of time. Good afternoon. As James said, my name is Walter Freeman. I'm an English teacher at Nashua North, and my question is, how can Nashua's high school transcripts better reflect our stated competency philosophies, reinforce habits of work, and provide colleges and employers with a more comprehensive, holistic understanding of our students and their academic experiences? A high school transcript is a passport to the future that we issue our students when they graduate. This carries them through the customs area wherever they want careers or education to take them, and like a passport, the gatekeepers of those portals want to see where they've been and whether or not they should be traveling through those portals. The early gatekeepers in most graduates' lives are employers or college admissions officers, and they will look to these important documents to see where the applicants have been, what they've been up to, and how they've been doing. Wherever they may roam, it's up to us as the primary issuers of these powerful documents to ensure that all who wander are not lost in the shuffle. In Nashua, we've undergone a tremendous change by implementing a competency-based model. The change has been bolstered by some clearly crafted philosophical support, but as we bid bon voyage to each successive generation of travelers, are we sure their traveling papers are in order? And there we are. When Nashua began to design and implement their new model, it seemed it was time to move past the rigid idea of a model largely based on the traditional Carnegie units, which had its traditional focus, and into a competency-based model, also known as proficiency-based model, that better reflected a more holistic worldview. As you can see here, there are distinct differences between the models. The Carnegie model unit has been in use for decades. While not perfect, there were many elements that had been refined over time and were functioning pretty well. It was, however, by no means perfect. And despite its advantages, a great need was perceived that would be the foundation upon which change was built. Sorry, just a click there. I have to aim and click at the same time on the little circle here. So, Nashua pursued this change in the form of a competency-based model in the hopes of addressing the failures of the old system and to be more functional in a changing world. However, despite many advantages, as seen here, the new model is not without its inherent faults. Many of these problems, such as attendance, are faced daily by teachers, and some are even repeatedly addressed by other teacher-leader presentations, past and present, including the one that will follow. Thank you. And to be fair, both models share imperfections, some of which are listed here. That being said, there never has been and never will be a silver bullet cure or one-size-fits-all solution to the complexities of educating students in the modern world. Therefore, it begs the question, why eschew common sense? Why implement a change that does not continue to embrace the advantages of the old system and by omission hampers the effectiveness of the new model? We are educated people. This would make as much sense as packing specific clothing and general necessities for a trip, discovering the place you were heading was going to be much warmer than you thought, packing a suitcase full of new clothes, but leaving the stuff you're going to need behind in the old suitcase. Common sense dictates that while change is needed, there are tried and true elements that are universally necessary that would be unwise to leave behind. The question remains, why not take the general necessities, the reliable items you know you will also need, along with your new clothes? Embrace the advantages of the Carnegie unit approach by embedding them in our 21st century skills, and then revise our 20th century skills and give them some teeth. Shark has nothing to do with my travel metaphor, but I like sharks. Besides, even apex predators know that you need to use the tools that you've been given. Getting the timing of this one down. But imagine a world where we as experienced travelers not only give novice travelers a passport that will take them to wherever they are going, but reinforce the skills they will need while earning that passport. A good place to start to address this is a proposal called 21st Century Transcripts. It is time to, is that showing up? Okay.
Yeah.
Embrace the advantages of the Carnegie unit and use them to enhance the effectiveness of CBE. Maintain GPA and class rank as measures of success, but not the only measures. Promote skill mastery as well as soft skills. Live up to the philosophy behind the switch to CBE. Help our students better stand out in a competitive world. Revise the existing transcripts to accomplish all of the above and more. Oh, the places they will go. But where did our own journey begin here in Nashua? How did we find ourselves on the path? At the start, Nashua explored a competency-based approach and felt it offered many advantages. These can clearly be seen on Nashua School District's competency website. To highlight 4 key elements, Nashua wanted the model to be a demonstration of knowledge and skills, where demonstrations of understanding will occur using a variety of methods, be more personalized, less one-size-fits-all, and allow for flexibility. And these are our promises to how a competency-based model would help students. We were wise in that we knew change would not be taken lightly. There were real and compelling reasons for this change. The path that we were forging needed to be one that would be worthwhile to those for whom we were forging it. But we all know where the path goes when it is only paved with good intentions. And of course, as soon as you say transcripts, someone always says, class rank, GPA. Well, we're not touching that. Just leave it stand. If that matters to the 7 students and their parents, they can have it. That was a longer slide, but I'm shortening here. The new path we're sending these travelers down leads to a place that is more complicated now than it has ever been. And just as our starting philosophy recognizes this, so should our understanding of the destinations. A new transcript should report on GPA, should report on class rank, should demonstrate knowledge and skills, but it should also be personalized, be flexible, focus on strengths, focus on weaknesses, provide ongoing communication about a student's performance over time, give grades meaning, foster a growth mindset, and give students hope. To begin, we need to take a look at our current passport and ask ourselves, does it represent the stated philosophies that were used to rationalize Nashua's switch to a competency model? Right. How does our transcript align with our stated philosophy? Well, as the old signposts, reports on GPA and reports on class rank. It reports on the student's demonstration of knowledge. That's good. But then the train goes off the tracks, rolls down the hill, falls into a river, and catches on fire. Does it report on the skills? It does not. Is it personalized? It's not. Does it focus on the strengths of the student? No. How about the weaknesses? Nope. Does it provide ongoing communication? It does not. Growth mindset? Yet. Hope? Nope. Meaning is missing. So, in the end, how well does our transcript align with our stated philosophies? In some cases, very well, but in most cases, it does not. On the current competency grading scale, I would say we were in progress. Thank you. Despite our distinctive philosophy and our distinctive model, how distinctive is our transcript? Not very. You may not have noticed, but halfway through that last series of slides, the transcript switched from a top-ranked student to a mid-ranked student. If we can't spot the difference, how can we expect our students to stand out to colleges? Our efforts to revamp our approach to education should not stop upon graduation, or we do a disservice to the students we're sending forth into a highly competitive world. How does changing the experience matter if that change is not reflected in how we report out on those experiences? Sadly, our current transcripts are not distinctive. Yet we issue this passport to all travelers who end their journey with us and begin their more important journey on their own. The message we inadvertently send to them and to others who may view this document is, you may be a little better than some and a little worse than others, but ultimately you're just like everybody else. We have the power to change that. Now, some may argue that if a document is functional, why does it need to change? You know, covered wagons were functional at one point, but jet planes take us much faster, much farther. Why change the itinerary at all if you just intend to go where you've always gone and do what you've always done? I mean, covered wagons do that very well, but we made significant changes in Nashua following significant paradigm shifts. Do we need a jet plane now instead of a covered wagon? First we ask, well, how competitive is it out there? According to the New England Secondary Schools Consortium, college admissions have risen steadily over the last 25 years. By 2025, projected undergraduate enrollment may be almost 20 million. Given the stiff competition, what can we do to give our students a leg up? The New England Secondary School Consortium also states admissions officials from New England's most selective colleges also stated a well-designed school profile allows them to evaluate student applicants more holistically and recommended to be included amongst other items the school's approach to proficiency-based learning, a description of their grading system, and the ways habits of work are assessed and graded. Let's hear it from colleges themselves. How about Harvard? Of course, class rank and GPA matter to Harvard, but the admissions page on their website pointedly asks, have you reached your maximum potential? Have you reached your maximum academic growth and personal potential? Sorry. Have you been stretching yourself? What choices have you made for yourself? Are you a late bloomer? They view each applicant as more than class rank or GPA. Whoops, they state, our admissions process enables us to give deliberate and meticulous consideration of each applicant as a whole person. Helen Vendler, Harvard professor and former faculty member of the Harvard's admission committee, states Harvard looks beyond grades. She writes, the truth is that many future poets, novelists, and screenwriters are not likely to be straight-A students either in high school or college. The arts through which they will discover themselves prize creativity, originality, and intensity above academic performance. They value introspection above extroversion, insight above rote learning. Yet such unusual students may be, in the long run, the graduates of whom we will be most proud. Shouldn't Nashua's transcripts express something about our students beyond GPA and class rank? William Fitzsimmons, we should listen to him. He has been the Dean of Harvard Admission for 20 years, says, our goal in admissions is to attract the best students to the college. Many people believe best ought to be defined by standardized tests and class rank. While we value objective criteria, we apply a more expansive view of excellence. Test scores and grades offer some indication of students' academic promise and achievement. With these aspects, academic excellence, extracurricular distinction, and personal qualities in mind, we read with care all the components of each application. Harvard is looking for more. How about Yale? According to their admissions website, on par with grades, Yale looks to transcripts to determine the ways in which an applicant has taken advantage of opportunities provided to him or her. The Yale admissions website states the single most important document in your application is your high school transcript, which tells us a great deal about your academic drive and performance over time. Yale's admission website states, we estimate that over 3/4 of the students who apply for admission to Yale are qualified to do the work here. The great majority of students who are admitted stand out from the rest because a lot of little things, when added up, tip the scale in their favor. So what matters most in your application? Ultimately, everything matters. At MIT, their admission site practically dares you to be unique. It states, grades don't always matter. By the same token, some applicants struggle to turn themselves into clones of the ideal MIT student. You know, the one who gets double 800s on the SAT. Fortunately, cloning is still for sheep. And that's for MIT's words, by the way. What we really want to see on your application is you being you, pursuing the things you love, growing, changing, taking risks, learning from your mistakes. All in your own distinctive way. College is not a costume party. You're not supposed to come dressed as someone else. Instead, college is an intense, irreplaceable, four-year opportunity to become more yourself than you've ever been. What you need to show us And what your transcripts need to show us is that you are ready to try. My timing is off on that, sorry. The Dartmouth site states we review each applicant carefully, regardless of the standardizing test results. Testing is one of a number of factors we include in our review of an application. The errant C on a student's transcript in and of itself does not preclude admission. In any case, we read each student's transcripts and school profile closely and determine to what extent the student has challenged him or herself given what is available. It is our holistic understanding of the candidacy and how it fits within the context of our applicant pool that determines the outcome. As does the University of New Hampshire. Their admission website states the University of New Hampshire conducts an individualized, holistic review of first-year applicants for admission. Admission to UNH is competitive. Students' academic record, including program of study, class rigor, standing in the class, and achievement is of primary importance in assessing a student's potential for success at UNH. Despite the concerns of educators, parents, and students, colleges are not oblivious to the changes occurring at the secondary level. They clearly support receiving a more comprehensive transcript in order to best select the students that they will honor with opportunity in an increasingly competitive field. The 21st century transcript would present a more holistic view of our student and allow them to avoid this and do this. So, to allay fears from students and parents, in 2016, the New England Board of Higher Education and the New England Secondary School Consortium gathered together the leaders of New England's most selective colleges and asked their views on these types of holistic transcripts. They said all admissions leaders at the meeting overwhelmingly agree that students applying from proficiency-based educational systems will experience no disadvantage in the evaluation and admissions process. Admissions leaders pointed to their commitments to viewing students holistically. Admission leaders were particularly enthusiastic about the inclusion of habits of work and cross-curricular knowledge and skills on the proficiency-based transcript. The key takeaways from this gathering were: holistic review allows admission professionals to carefully consider each applicant in his or her individualized learning environment. Proficiency-based transcripts and school profiles should explain what learning standards mean within the context of the particular high school, and the inclusion of habits of work and cross-curricular knowledge and skills on proficiency-based transcripts and school profiles are particularly useful to admissions leaders. According to the Great Schools Partnership, as of 2018, 100% of public universities in Connecticut, Maine, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and Vermont endorse competency-based education. In the end, they proposed, instead of responding to concerns about mastery-based transcripts with evasiveness or uncertainty, why not just develop the strongest possible transcript instead? Find out what admissions offices need to know and then deliver everything they need to know and even a little bit more. In addition, the New England Secondary Schools Consortium also stated a well-designed school profile allows them to evaluate student applicants more holistically and recommended to be included, among other items, the school's approach to proficiency-based learning, a description of their grading system, and the ways habits of work are assessed and graded. So, conclusions and recommendations from all of this. First of all, listen to educators who repeatedly cite a growing need for accountability on character, attendance, and behavior. This anecdotal evidence, including many times attendance has been a teacher-leader topic, and will be following this presentation, is coming from professionals who see the need daily in the trenches. Hold students to a higher standard with a true growth model. The 21st century transcript is one tool in a larger toolbox needed to address this. Adopt the philosophy that curriculum is not all we teach. There are soft skills beyond high school that need to be taught in addition to skill mastery. When and where, if not in high school and at home, do students learn self-discipline, commitment, character, and other soft skills? Take the next step in competency-based education by connecting learning expectations with character expectations. Revise the 21st century rubric to better align with the expectations of our curriculum and embrace the philosophies behind our own competencies. Beyond the evidence cited above, look to Maine for advice and guidance in using more advanced transcripts. They utilize what they call cross-curricular skills or habits of work. Many resources exist for broadening and deepening the transcript to continue to make the move to CBE more effective. And lastly, add 21st century rubrics to the transcripts. This will not affect GPA or class rank and will, in addition to those markers, provide a more holistic view of our students. This will hold students to higher standards and benefit their profiles for school or work beyond high school. In conclusion, and I promise this is it, we need to revisit our passport and align it with our own philosophies, and as we pack the new suitcase for our new destination, we should take along the tried and true items that serve us well regardless of our path. Our kids deserve to stand out, and they deserve to acquire the skills and habits of work that will serve them wherever they may roam. And I would invite you, if you would like, to read my paper for a more in-depth explanation of this. The end. Questions? Yes?
Do you, in your research, did you come across any school districts that had transcripts that maybe we could model or maybe get closer to the vision you're talking about?
I know they exist, but not specifically schools putting them out there for people to see, but I do know that the Maine Department of Education, which I cited in there, have templates that their schools use. And I'm sure that if we contacted some schools... They are.
That's the way life should be.
They really are, because they're understanding, we constantly complain, students aren't in attendance, and then we read our own handbook that says attendance isn't as important as skill mastery, which is inadvertently an insult to the lessons that we plan on a daily basis. And if you take English, for example, our competencies don't change from year to year, just our expectations of them. But a student who can write a decent essay in 9th grade just has to write essays all the way throughout, and they're fine. Whereas if we're saying, if you're not showing up to your job, if you're not doing the seat time in your job, those are skills that we have an opportunity to reinforce, but we're not. We've eschewed it. Now, you hear teachers complaining around the lunch tables all the time. Attendance is the main reason for failure. Students are no longer meeting deadlines. They're just saying, I will recover it. None of that is real world stuff. And while we can't have that impact grades, we can have it show as their habits of work over time. So when a college is looking at little Timmy, who didn't do so well in 9th grade because he was immature, who has changed remarkably, that's holding Timmy to a standard over time. It reflects his growth, but it is also known to the students that it matters. I mean, we have honor students that aren't coming to classes. We have honor students that aren't making deadlines. And nothing is being able to be reinforced about it, I guess. So, sorry, that was a soapboxy moment. But yes, and in short, Gary, yeah, Maine schools are doing this. They're not putting it out there for public consumption, but they're putting a template out that their schools are following. And they mentioned specifically some schools who use the habits of work idea, and some schools who use cross-curricular skills. I mean, if you ask me, students should get, three free absences, and after that it starts impacting the grade on a sliding scale. And we don't have to run around chasing students for attendance anymore. We don't have to run around taking up our AP's valuable time with discipline for attendance when they're dealing with far more serious issues. Attendance has its own consequences. Any other questions? Thank you.